All right, ready to dive deep. Today, we're going way back. Ancient wisdom time, King David, giving advice to his son Solomon. It's all there in 1 Kings chapter 2.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
A lot of intrigue, power plays,
It's surprisingly relevant even now.
Right, like thousands of years later.
Absolutely.
So we've got this scene, right? Thine king, young heir, ready to take over.
Whole kingdom hanging in the balance. Talk about pressure.
No kidding.
Okay.
And David, he doesn't just, give some vague advice.
Oh, no, he gets specific.
He's very specific. Okay, first things first. Follow God's laws.
Foundation for everything, he says.
Yeah, like, look, I messed up a few times.
But if you want to succeed, Solomon,
Walk the right path.
powerful stuff. Even a king understood a higher authority.
But then he gets interesting. David starts naming names. People Solomon has to deal with.
Oh, yeah, like a to-do list.
Exactly. First up, Joab.
Tough guy.
Seasoned general, helped David through a lot.
Loyal, but
Ruthless. Committed some serious crimes.
even in peacetime.
And David wants justice.
Makes you think. Even loyalty has its limits, right?
For sure. Then there's Shimei. This guy. He cursed David
Publicly, too?
during a really bad time
Yeah.
when David's own son rebelled.
Absalom, right?
Yeah. David, he forgave Shimei, but
But tells Solomon to deal wisely with him.
that's load.
Talk about passing the buck.
Right. Like, you figure it out, son.
But it shows mercy and justice, not always black and white.
Totally. Okay, then there's Barzillai's sons. Now, Barzillai, he was incredibly loyal during that rebellion.
Yeah, opposite of Shimei.
And David tells Solomon, be kind to these guys.
Total contrast.
Right. So we have Joab, punish him. Shimei, who knows? Barzillai's sons, reward them.
Complex, huh?
Barry, what do you think Solomon's thinking at this point?
Like, Dad. Little mixed messages here.
Exactly. Follow God's laws, but also here's a hit list. And, oh, be nice to these folks.
And he's young, too.
So young, about to inherit so much power.
Intense, right?
Definitely sets the stage for, some decisive action later on.
A little wisdom, maybe some ruthlessness, too. We'll see.
Those early lessons, though, they stick with him. Big time.
Shape his whole approach to leadership.
Absolutely. So that's David signing off. Solomon's up next.
And let me tell you,
He doesn't waste any time.
things get really interesting.
But that's for part 2.
Stay tuned.
All right, we're back. Last time, remember, David on his deathbed giving Solomon all that advice.
Oh, yeah. Some pretty intense instructions.
He wasn't messing around. So what does Solomon do? Brand new king? All that pressure?
Well, he takes his dad's words to heart, that's for sure.
He does. But maybe with a little extra,
Gusto.
yeah, gusto. Remember Adonijah? Solomon's brother tried to snag the throne first?
Yeah, tried to pull a fast one.
Well, Solomon has him executed. Just like that.
Wow, straight to the point.
Decisive.
Yeah.
But kind of ruthless too, right?
No messing around. I guess it shows you got to secure that power.
Right. Rivals. Not in Solomon's kingdom. Then there's Joab. Big, powerful guy. David's top general. Had to know he was in trouble.
And he tries to play it smart. Seeks sanctuary at the altar.
Using religion as a shield.
Yeah, like God's gonna protect me from the king.
Bold move. Did it work?
Not a chance. Solomon sees right through it.
He's not buying it?
Nope. Sees Joab as a threat. To his authority, to the whole kingdom.
So what happens? Inside a holy place too.
Solomon orders his execution. Right there.
No hesitation.
Powerful message, huh? Nobody's above the law.
Even if you served the previous king.
Even then. But it makes you wonder. About mercy. Was there no other way?
Tough call. Leaders still face that, don't they?
All the time. Justice, forgiveness, hard to balance those.
Okay, what about Shimei? The guy who cursed David.
Ah, yes. David told Solomon to deal wisely with him. Vague instructions.
Could have just, gotten rid of him.
Easily. But he doesn't. Solomon confines Shimei to Jerusalem.
So, not death, but still a punishment.
Loss of freedom. A reminder, don't cross the king.
Clever. But there's a catch, right?
Oh, yeah. Big one. Solomon warns him, step outside the city.
And you're done.
Basically, mercy, but with a very clear boundary.
Like a tight leash. Solomon's thinking long-term here.
Absolutely. Second chances, they're not blank checks.
Actions have consequences.
Yeah.
So, wow, in a short time, Solomon tackles all these issues, follows his dad's advice, but also
makes his own mark. Decisive, maybe a little harsh, but
he gets stuff done.
he does. And it makes you think, how much of this is David's influence?
Right. And how much is just Solomon being Solomon?
And don't forget, David's big thing was following God's laws.
Yeah.
So,
Do these actions fit in with that? Divine justice or just good strategy?
tough question. The Bible, it's full of these tensions, right? Leadership, righteousness, it's not always simple.
And we still struggle with this today, don't we? Fairness, forgiveness, where's the line?
Exactly. Solomon's story, it doesn't give us all the answers, but
Give something to think about.
it does. Challenges us to consider our own choices, how we lead, how we balance those tough calls.
Okay, so Solomon, he's got the power. He's shown he's not afraid to use it. But what about that whole legacy thing?
Ah, yes. That's the next chapter. Because Solomon's story, it's more than just politics and power plays.
There's a lot more to unpack. The wisdom, the faith, the lasting impact of those choices.
Definitely. And that's where things get really interesting. Stay with us for part 3.
Back again. Man, we've covered some heavy stuff. Deathbed advice, a new king, some pretty strong actions taken.
It's true. Makes you realize leadership isn't always easy. Tough choices, big consequences.
No kidding. So we saw how Solomon handled those first challenges. But what about the big picture? What kind of king did he end up being? What can we learn from all of this?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you can't talk about Solomon without that whole wisdom thing, right?
Right. It's like his claim to fame. But wisdom, what's that actually mean when you're the one with all the power?
Yeah, that's the real test, isn't it? It's not just about, like, being smart or making clever moves. It's deeper.
Deeper how?
Well, like David was trying to tell him, real wisdom. It comes from understanding what's right, justice, knowing your own limits, too.
Knowing your limits. That's important. Because Solomon, he wasn't perfect. Even with all that supposed wisdom.
Nobody is. He messed up, faced tough times, had to deal with people, human nature and all that.
So maybe that's the lesson for us, right? We don't got to be Solomon 2.0,
Sure.
but we can see ourselves in his struggles.
Exactly. How do we find wisdom when things get tough? How do we stick to our ideals even when things are messy?
Yeah. Like David saying, follow God's laws. That's not just a bunch of rules. It's like finding a better way to live.
Right. Something bigger than yourself to guide you. We can all try to do that, can't we? Leading a team, a family, whatever our challenges are.
Absolutely. And it's a process, right? Not like you flip a switch and you're wise. Solomon's story shows that.
For sure. Even the wisest people, they make mistakes. Gotta keep learning, adjusting. But it's that effort. That's what matters.
It's about the journey, not just the destination. That's powerful. And, speaking of journeys, both David and Solomon, they were really focused on this idea of legacy.
What they'd leave behind. More than just power, it was about making things better for the future.
Yeah. Like, think about David's instructions with Joab and those sons of Barzillai. It wasn't just getting even.
Right. It was about setting things right. Rewarding loyalty, punishing bad deeds. A standard for everyone, even after he was gone.
And for Solomon, well, those lessons about justice and mercy, they shaped how he led. But it's personal too, right?
Absolutely. He had to face his own good and bad sides. Those choices, they weighed on him, shaped who he became.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Legacy, we think of it as this big, grand thing. But it's built on all these little choices.
Every day, how we act, how we treat people, living with integrity even when no one's watching.
It's like those little brushstrokes that make a painting. Each one might seem small, but they add up to something amazing.
Beautiful way to put it. And that might be the biggest takeaway from all of this. Leadership, legacy, wisdom. It's not just about big speeches or grand plans.
It's about those daily efforts, trying to do what's right, being fair, showing compassion in ourselves and out in the world.
Well said. That's what makes these ancient stories so powerful. They show us these timeless struggles. The questions we ask, they're not new. There's wisdom to be found in wrestling with them.
So as we wrap this up, I gotta say, I'm kind of in awe. These stories from way back then, they still speak to us. Remind us we're not alone in these things.
Yeah.
And that there's something to be learned from facing those tough questions.
I agree. And that's the beauty of exploring this ancient wisdom. It's not about easy answers or quick fixes. It's about understanding ourselves better, the world around us, and that faith can guide us, help us find our way.
Thanks for being here with us today. I hope this has given you some things to think about, maybe even some inspiration to take these lessons and make them your own. Until next time, keep seeking that wisdom. You never know where you'll find it.